Today I'm going to talk about portable solar generators. Do you need one? Let's find out. So I was contacted by MaxOak about reviewing one of their power stations. This is their MaxOak AC50 power station. They sent it over to me. I was surprised actually because they have these in Europe as well as in North America. So they sent me one that's got the 230 volt AC inverter built in, which is kind of cool because I got a lot of stuff that I've bought since I've been in Europe that uses this plug and uses 220 volt that my inverter inside the van can't do because my inverter is from the US and it's 110 volt. So this is kind of nice for me to be able to just plug in little electronics that are AC powered from Europe. So they're not paying me to make this video. They simply sent this out for me to review. And everything that I say are completely my own personal perspective, my own personal opinions. So you will find out just exactly what I think about these and what I will personally use this one for. These battery banks, portable solar generators have been around for a little while now. One of the early ones that you've seen, they sort of came from this world of portable battery banks, like the little ones that you have to charge your phone. It was just a matter of time before they realized that they can go bigger, and which they did. They've gotten bigger. This one is 500 watt hours, which is a little less than 40 amp hours of 12 volt power. This is using lithium-ion batteries rather than your traditional AGM, lead acid, or even the more popular RV lithium battery, the lithium iron phosphate batteries. The lithium-ion batteries that's used in this one has a couple of advantages. They are smaller, they have higher power density, which means that they're also lighter, so you can pack a little bit more power into something like this. This is actually pretty light for having almost 40 amp hours of 12 volt power in this. There are some drawbacks to lithium ion as well. Compared to AGM, lead acid batteries, lithium batteries do not like to be in cold temperatures. To be totally honest, AGMs and lead acids don't either. You can actually really damage a lithium battery bank if you try to force charge it in really, really cold temperatures. So I've not tested this in really cold temperatures. So I don't know if this has a low temperature cutoff, meaning that there's a temperature sensor. When the temperature is below a certain degree, it prevents this from being charged. I don't really plan on using this in that fashion anyway, so I'm not terribly worried about it. Lead acid batteries are not happy in low temperatures either, but they're just a bit more durable when it comes to that environment. The other thing about these batteries, lithium-ion batteries that's used in here compared to lithium iron phosphate, which you've heard a lot, it's the LiFePO4 batteries. These don't have as many cycle lives as the lithium iron phosphates. These can do about 500 cycles, meaning charge all the way to the top and then deplete it all the way to the bottom. That's one cycle. This can do about 500 cycles. But that doesn't mean at the end of the 500 cycles that this is trash. This at 500 cycles will have reduced capacity, meaning that you can still use it. They just won't be able to charge up 100% anymore. They may charge up to 80%. So you can still use it for some time to come. They just won't have the original 500 watt hour capacity after 500 cycles. Something to think about is how will you use this? Is this something suitable to use as a secondary power source? Or if you're building a van brand new, could you use something like this as your primary power source? Before we get into it, let's talk about some features of this one. I kind of use this one as like a baseline for what you need in a really bare bones simple van. The nice thing about this, I think 500 watt hours or about 40 amp hours of power is about the minimum. It's sufficient for a really basic electrical system because this is about equivalent to 100 amp hours of lead acid battery. A few years ago, that would have been the standard. Everybody would have used about 100 amp hours of lead acid battery as like a starting point. So this is comparable to that because lead acids you can only drain down to about 50%. And this you can drain almost completely. So take the amp hour capacity of this one and double it. That is about the equivalent of a lead acid battery you would need to match the usable capacity of this. So this one being about 40 amp hours, this is really more equivalent to like an 80 amp hour lead acid. So this can do that, but it's only going to be able to power things like lights, water pump, electric fridge, charge your phone a little bit. I would not use this to charge everything in your van plus, let's say, like a laptop, because the laptops would draw a lot from it. By plugging your laptop into this for extended periods of time, you're going to run out of power to be able to run your fridge, which means all your food is going to spoil. If you're using it just for kind of basic weekend purposes, something like this is perfect. It has a 300 watt pure sine wave inverter, which is pretty cool because 300 watts of pure sine wave inverter, assuming it's a good one, will run you around $60 to $120. So having the battery and the inverter built in, that's pretty cool. It obviously has DC outlets as well. This is 12 volt. And they have these barrel plugs that can output 12 volts at 3 amps as well. And also 4 USB-A plugs. And then 1 USB-C power delivery at 45 watts. Something like this will be able to power like a small MacBook that doesn't require a ton of power. And also power, I'll show you how this works. That's how you turn it on. That's how you turn on the DC ports. And that's how you turn on the AC inverter. So you can pick and choose which one you turn on. So if you're not using the AC, you can turn that off. If you're not using the DC, you can turn that off. And to turn the whole thing off, press and hold that. The other cool thing that it has is on the top, there is a wireless charging pad. This is Qi charging. So if your phone is compatible with wireless charging, all you got to do, I'll turn that on, turn on my power, put your phone on top. There it is, charging. That is pretty unique to this product. The other products that are similar to this are things like the Jackery 500 or the Goal Zero Yeti 500X, I think, because all three of those are 500 watt hour power banks. And this one is the most affordable of the bunch. This one, I think you can have them right now for $399. And they're actually having a Halloween giveaway right now. So let me just give you that giveaway information really quick. They're doing a MaxOak Halloween giveaway. It's available to citizens of the US, Canada, UK, and the EU. It's between October 15th and November 3rd. They're giving away almost $25,000 worth of equipment. So you can get one of these. There are 5 of these that they're giving away. The first prize winner is their EB240 model. I don't know which one that is, but I know the second one, that's worth $1,900. So I think that is one of their biggest power banks. The second one is the AC100, which is the big brother to this. That one's got 1,000 watt hours. They're giving away 2 of those, and they're giving away 5 of these. These are worth $399. So I'm going to put a link down in the description below if you guys want to go enter and try to win one of these or one of their other products. Check it out, it's pretty cool. So going back to what you would use this for. Personally, for a small van, you just want to charge a phone, you want to power a fridge. Let's say you're a weekender. Maybe you travel in a rooftop tent in a Toyota 4Runner or pickup truck or something like that. Something like this is great because you can just carry it with you on the weekend. It'll run 2 days easily with just phones and running some lights. It's got a lantern in the back, which I think is pretty cool. Has 3 modes. A low, this is an SOS, and then this is the high. So lanterns are pretty cool. I'm not huge fans of flashlights. You're not gonna carry this like a flashlight, but I think a lantern is pretty cool for somebody who just wants some lighting inside their rooftop tent or something like that. But if you're gonna be building a full-on electrical system, you can still use one of these, but possibly use one of the bigger ones, maybe using the 1000 watt hour one. Then you can use it for more things like, laptop charging. You can even, use it to connect all your lights internally through one of these barrel plugs. And the other nice thing about this one is it's got built-in MPPT solar charge controller. So if you got a solar panel or a couple of them connected together, you can plug it in to charge through this port, because this port will allow up to 120 watts of solar input or any kind of DC input, actually, as long as it is between 12 and 40 volts. So a standard 12 volt solar panel outputs at about 18 volts. So that's actually a perfect voltage to plug in here. And you can have up to 120 watts. So just get a 120 watt solar panel, just have the positive negative wire. It comes with a little MC4 connector that you can connect directly to your solar panel and just plug it in here. You don't need to put you don't have to put a charge controller in between, because this has got one built in. So I think that's pretty neat. So you can have a portable solar system, meaning this thing, which has all your DC and AC power, has a battery built in, has a light, has a way to charge your phone, and as long as you get a way to recharge it, either through the wall, which you can also charge, comes with an AC brick you can plug into the wall to charge before you leave your house, or you can use a solar panel. You can buy one. They sell one. I don't have one to show you, but I have just a homemade 100 watt solar suitcase that I put a hinge and some handles on, and I can plug that directly into this and charge via solar. So with very, very little money, you can get a solar panel that will work with this for about $140, and this costs about $400. So about $540, you can have a full electrical system ready to go for your sort of 2-3 day getaways. Now, if you wanted to use one of these, but you already have a van and your van has its own built-in electrical system, I find these to be really helpful in that situation too, because really often I find myself wanting to use 12 volt outlets or AC outlets around the inside of the van or the outside of the van where I happen to not have installed one. One specific use case that I was doing some wiring in the back the other day, and I needed to use my soldering iron. I don't have an AC outlet back there, so now all I gotta do is make sure this is charged or has enough charge, bring this with me to the back, and I can plug in my soldering iron to this and do any kind of soldering work anywhere in the van, outside the van, anywhere I can carry this. So that's a really nice use case for that. I have an outlet right up front under my seat where I work on my computer when I'm editing videos or when I'm doing actual work with a client. Sometimes I like to plug in my computer into this instead of draining the house battery, because our house battery, let's say we go through a couple of days of overcast or rainy days, maybe we didn't get a full charge that day. But if I plug my computer into this, then I don't have to worry about draining our house battery down if it's low and risk having this fridge full of food go bad on us through the night. There are a couple of quirks though that I've noticed with this. Some people have said that this is not a regulated power supply, but I've actually found that it is. It outputs at 13.6 volts steadily across the entire range of the battery capacity. So maybe that's something that they've updated, because mine outputs at a steady voltage from 100% all the way down to 0%. So I'm really happy with that. There is one thing that I thought was kind of weird, is that this battery monitor, I was using it to charge a computer and to charge some phones through both the AC and the DC ports. And I noticed that, I don't know exactly what triggers it. At one point, these meters just went to 0, even though my computer was still charging and my phone was still charging. So there's some kind of thing that happens. I don't know, if it has to be reset or if I just have to power down, power back up to get it to work again. But I've noticed that these numbers aren't always going to work correctly. They do work correctly most of the time. So for example, Like if I put my phone on here right now to charge, it's got to be lined up just right. Okay, so now the wireless charger just activated and it's now charging. Now it's charging at 8 watts. There's a few seconds delay, but you can see it does register. Now this battery meter, on the other hand, that seems to be pretty reliable. When you charge it up, it goes up to 100%, and it will steadily drop as you deplete the battery. When it goes down to 0, you have to charge it however you can. The battery brick that comes with it charges at 90 watts, which will top this off completely in about 6 to 7 hours. I also find that to be a really handy thing to have. Let's say you're somewhere where you're boondocking and you don't have a way to plug in your car and you're trying to conserve the battery of your van. So you're using this to charge your computers, to do work or whatever. And if you go to a coffee shop to get internet and to do some work, you can bring this guy in with you. While you're plugged your computer into the wall at the coffee shop to work, you can also plug this in to charge while you're there. So if you're there working for 4, 5, 6 hours, by the time you leave, this thing will be fully charged. And you can bring this back to the van where you're boondocking, where you may not have any hookups, and you have a fully charged battery. It's almost like how you would go to a place with a spigot to fill up water and then bring it back here to top off your van's water tank. You can essentially treat this like a water or electricity jug where you can go and top off and bring back if you really wanted to. And I think I will make a video about this later on, just to see the round trip efficiency of this. If I were to charge this up at an AC outlet, I can bring this back and then use these ports, use the AC plugs to charge my house battery, just to see how much efficiency I get from the 500 watt hours of power. I want to see how much power I can put into the house. Essentially, like I said, using this as a electricity bucket to shuttle power back and forth. So that's it. These are some things I wanted to share with you about this MaxOak AC50 power station. Pretty cool little product. And I'm going to be using this for the next several months just to see how this thing works. And if I have anything new to share, I'll post another video about it. I hope this video was helpful for you guys who are looking into power stations like this one. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next one.